Hello, everyone. Welcome to Artistically Married, where we explore the inner workings of our marriage driven by artistic expression. We're your hosts, Jake Ackerman.
And Brianne Steinberg.
And today, me and Bri are just on our own, hanging out in our basement. And she is going to talk about some more business. You can describe it for us.
Yeah, I guess business strategy, probably.
Business strategy, yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, obviously, we have
and also
different aspects of our...
Yeah, strategies for life as well, right? It can kind of apply to everything.
Yeah, well, that's why I've really loved working in this mastermind company, because they are really transformative, and whoever there's just such a huge group of coaching staff that are within the industry and within our group of masterminds. But then also, they're always bringing in different keynote speakers and motivational speakers to kind of give us that additional, like you said, it's nice because it does overlap. It ends up being applicable to your business, and then it always ends up being really fruitful for your life as well.
Cool.
Yeah. So this is the second since I've joined this group in the last year. That we've done a online retreat, they call it, but it's just, it'd be like taking online courses type of thing. But they do, almost insist that we participate in this, and that it happens twice a year. And then twice a year they do in-person meetings, which I can only imagine would be even more powerful, because you're getting all the camaraderie and kind of the advice of people that are in the same industry as you. So, I mean, this isn't, every other person you talk to has a goal coach or a growth coach or something, some kind of institution. But this is a really big transformative group of people, because we're all doing the same thing and there's a lot of them. So we had this recently in April. It was an online retreat scenario. We carve out 2 days, and it's really nice. It's like an intentional pause. They keep kind of telling us that we are CEOs of whatever company we working for. We run a dance studio, and they're really adamant about taking the time to do education parts, but also just taking that second away. And we're really going to get into this, taking that headspace. We always talk about having white noise and just having time to think. It's such a rarity now in your day to day, when you pile on your job and your work and your home and anything else that you try to shove into a single day. It always just gets so wild that we never have any time to just sit there and be in your thoughts to plan and goal set and all the things. So when we come together and do it as a group, and there involves a keynote speaker, motivational speaker, and an education portion of it, it's really powerful. So
cool.
This has been the second one that we did, and it was really great. So I'm actually...
Was this actually an event somewhere that you could have gone to?
No. So like I said, we do...
This was just online.
Yeah. The group does, they call it a virtual retreat. And the keynote speaker is wherever they're from, wherever their locale is. And then we also do 2 live. So we actually do travel to a place and get together. And like I said, I haven't done one of those yet, and I'm sure it would just be as not, if not more powerful, because you're together in a group. And
oh, for sure.
You get the social part, and it's not all just business and whatever you see on the screen. But I think this is a really great way to distribute education, and us have the time carved out to just kind of have that thinking time. So it's really cool. So this April, we just had it about a month ago. The keynote speakers, we had 4 of them actually. So I would love to share lots of different lessons and different experiences that we had with all 4 of the keynote speakers. But today we're really going to focus on Dan Heath. He was an author of the book Reset. I think this wasn't the first book he's ever written. I should have done a little more research, because I was more just in the lessons that we were learning. But he was really great about using your strategic framework to run your business. He was really focusing on getting people unstuck if they're feeling as if they're stagnant in your business or your personal life. And again, just focusing on that white space, that white noise time where you can just, kind of center yourself and more strategically think about your life or your business or whatever you're working on.
So white space as in having time where you're not working, you have time to think.
Exactly. You're not doing anything really. You're just trying to like give yourself that time to think. Everyone does it differently, I think. I've never, like I said, I really can't remember a time in my life in the last 15 years where I actually gave myself that time. It was either we were homeschooling the kids and then I was choreographing and then I was working in the business. So there wasn't really ever time where I just like sat around. In fact, that's been like a big theme, I think, going through a mastermind program is not feeling bad. You know, there's always that like sense of guilt for some reason. Maybe it's not everyone. Maybe it's just type A personalities.
Well, yeah, you feel that in a marriage too. If you're just off,
yeah, you're just sitting down, like, oh gosh, that's the worst thing. Yeah, you feel this sense of guilt.
Yeah, you feel guilty that you should be doing something.
Yeah. So that's been like a big hurdle for me anyways, running a business and allowing myself, you know, and then again, obviously there's some logistics involved. You're just like, okay, I'm not going to do any of the groundwork of my business. Like I'm not even going to take out the garbage. I'm not going to do the shopping. I'm just going to do the thinking for my business. Like it does feel lazy, you know, there are times where it feels or ineffective. You're like, oh gosh, I could have spent those 4 hours and like got a bunch of stuff done. And I just sat here and brainstormed, you know? Yeah, but then obviously, you know, you can take that brainstorming and really make huge changes in your business, which we've personally seen over the last 8 months, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, it was cool to just, you know, have that time for us together. And then he was really, even more, you know, he got into more like the specifics on like exactly what the thought process could look like. That could push your business forward, or if you're feeling stuck in your situation, or even, you know, even in your lifetime, like think about on a day-to-day basis when you end up feeling like you're in a hamster wheel, right? You're just like, what am I doing? You know, every morning I get up and I do this thing, and then I do the next thing and the next thing, and it's such a routine that it can end up feeling really like stuck or non-progressive, or not, you know, you're not going into. So his book is called Reset. And I think that's like a really powerful idea, period, because it feels like it's like an end and a new beginning to something.
Sure.
Which I don't know. Maybe it is like for some people, it really needs to be like, I'm stopping doing this and I'm going to start doing this. But for me, it just feels like it's, you know, a progression, evolution. He really did show some really awesome graphs in terms of that like thought process, and the focus that goes into like how you're thinking, you know, how just adjust the way you're thinking, and taking really like kind of simple ideas and allowing it to make huge changes. So that was like a big push for him, is having lasting change isn't about doing more. It's about doing better.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So that's something that that definitely applies to working in construction and with what I do. And I was even talking about that recently to somebody, and it's funny because when you start out, you're almost doing exactly the same things. You're measuring the space where you want a board to fit, and then you go to the saw and you cut it and you bring it back, and as you work in the trade for a long period of time, after 20 years, you cut that piece and it fits perfectly. You do it once, but when you're young and you're doing the same thing, you're measuring with your tape measure, you're going over there, you're marking it on the piece, and you're putting it up there. But for some reason, when you're new, that piece doesn't tend to fit as you want it to. And then when you get good at it, it's almost second nature, and it just happens automatically. And then, so you can take that, and so instead of doing like, okay, I need this piece to fit, and now I need the next one to fit to that one, and the next one to fit to that one, you can measure everything beforehand. Just go to the saw one time, cut all your pieces, and bring all of them into the place and put them in, and they'll fit. So now, instead of walking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and wasting all this time just walking back and forth from your saw to the place you're working, you eliminate all this just with, I guess, the knowledge of what you're doing, but also
better system,
taking care to measure, making sure you're cutting exactly where you need to. And
yeah, Yeah, for sure. And I think that's kind of what his idea of like the reset was, is like reset the way that you did it before and, you know, change it to make it more effective and allow it to flourish and grow and kind of figure out the ways that you can make your systems better. And really yours is such like a logical progression of like the human ability and gaining strength within your industry. But when you start incorporating more people, more, you know, that mastermind mentality where you're allocating resources of other people and the talent around you, or now, you know, systems when it comes to like automation and technology, making your system better, making your thing more functional so that you're serving your clientele better is like, it's always so effective, right? So I think that was kind of his idea of like behind a reset. It was like, you know, think about everything you do differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I think even
Be critical about it.
So I guess again in construction, like we'll have a lot of the times you can kind of visualize a project and then just kind of do it. But when you actually take the time and you draw out plans and you make plans for it and you follow those plans, you eliminate a lot of your errors before you even, you know, start getting into the process or some oversight. So having it all drawn out, you can see it. So now a lot of the times we're working off of drawings that we've made, or we'll do like 3D models on SketchUp and stuff like that. And having that there, you can just see it beforehand, and now you eliminate your error because you saw it when you're drawing it, as opposed to just going out there and starting, right?
Totally.
Where so much you're just like, oh yeah, we just got to take this wall out and, you know, put up new drywall, no big deal. But then you run into a lot of problems when you haven't like fully worked through it beforehand. Yeah,
and I think that comes back to that white space, right? That like time to think about something, and the planning time, the goal setting time, the scheduling time. Like, and so he was really adamant about it's all about your thinking process ahead of time, and then your action, right? And deliberating. So so he's really great. And then he kind of like, he walked us into identifying leverage points, which I thought was really cool. It was really like a dichotic thought process, because on one hand, he was really like, you know, find the areas that are not serving you, find the challenges, he kept using like the analogy of a bottleneck, which like I totally identify, because I'll get to things now in the business where I'm just like, okay, we're stuck at like me having to make a decision. And as soon as I make that decision, then boom, everything starts flowing again, right? It can flow out to my teachers, or it can flow out to my administration staff, or it can flow out to now, like I'm working with a director kind of. So when you're in the way, or any particular part of your life, so like pick any particular issue, that becomes like your leverage point. And if you could just change that one little small spot, it would be so strategic, right? It like ends up unlocking this like big change or big result. So it really starts with like that white space and identifying like where the issues are. And like you said, having a blueprint, having a plan, having a thought process before, a brainstorm before, and kind of figure out where like typically there's leverage points. That can be a really big area where you could like, you know, really focus on that thing. And we're going to talk about some of the practicality that he introduced afterwards, but just identifying and taking the time to like figure out what those like specific problem spots are within your life or your job or your marriage or your relationship or your art, whatever, wherever it's the issues are. I think we don't give ourselves enough time to kind of really figure out what those problems are. Well, maybe we do. Maybe that's why we have more therapy than we've ever seen in the history of humans.
Well, yeah,
people are trying to identify those problems.
Getting stuck is something that happens in art all the time.
Right?
Like you're just you kind of hit a wall, and you're either, you know, you don't typically have the time. So when you get that time, you're like, all right, I have to do something, and you maybe rush through it, and you make decisions that you don't like.
Yeah.
Or you regret, I guess. But yeah, it's tough finding that
sweet spot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he talked about like usually if something's like not working, so like again the bottleneck, but like either you double down and you, like you said, right, you just start forcing it, like this has to work, this has to happen. I had this goal for myself. or eventually, and I totally identify with this too, is you hit burnout. You're just trying so hard to make something work, and like you end up feeling so stubborn and pig-headed after, because you're like, I should have just taken a second. Instead, I created this like huge, issue for myself. I should have taken a second, a pause, and found what those leverage points were found the bottleneck and tried a different way, tried like a different solution, right? So yeah, he was really into talking about solution-based therapy. In terms of like interpersonal behavior, and he gets into like, motivation and stuff like that. But I thought it was really like a practical way of like pinpointing exactly what's slowing you down, and then trying to like find, solutions that are just like so powerful that can like really, move mountains type of thing. So yeah, I thought it was cool. Also, he talked in detail with it, pertaining to business being like marketing issues, which this has been like our latest big joke, is like anytime something's going wrong, or like, people aren't showing up, or anytime something's not going as expected, we're like, oh, it's a marketing issue, must be down to marketing.
Yeah.
Which really, I mean, a lot of issues now in our business lives are marketing issues. So it's funny. It's true. And just lack of clarity in the system. So when you do take a step back and you think, oh God, why is that not working? Then a lot of times you can find those like solution-based situations where you can like end up being like, okay, you know what? And then this is what he got into later was, finding what does work instead of just, also I think that's why I said it's kind of a dichotic thought, because you need to identify where the problem is and then look at all the areas around that. So he kind of drew this graph, and he was like, here's your problem spots. No one's coming. No one's appreciating your product. You're not doing well. And then here's the area where like, yeah, most people are like good and happy. And then you have this like tiny population at the other side where they're just like ecstatic with your situation, whatever you're offering, even if it's just like interpersonal relationships. And he was really adamant about kind of focusing on those like bright spots, he called them. And he said like, our bright spots, if we take all those bright spots, those times, and I even think of that as a parent, think of how many times with your child where you're like, oh, that was just such a bad day, like it was a bad moment, like why do we have so many bad things, right? And that stands out to you because it's like earth shaking. You're like, what am I doing wrong? How am I going to fix this? And you just focus on the bad moments, and it seems to be some like kind of intuitive. Even as a type A personality, you're always trying to get better. You use those bad moments with your children to motivate you to like have better moments. That's kind of how we think about it, right? We're like, what can I do differently next time that's going to be better? Yeah. But his strategy was like, no, don't worry about the bad moments. Just focus on the times that maybe you had a good time and like you had a good day, and what brought that out in your child, or what brought that out in your business or your staff or whatever.
Yeah, with raising kids, they're all over the place. So I find it really is like a moment to moment basis, and you can have these amazing moments that just kind of, it seems like they understand, and you have a good conversation, and
they're
all goes
engaged, well. They're listening, they're obedient.
Might last 2 minutes, and then the next 2 minutes they trip and fall, and they're screaming and crying or fighting with their sibling, and then all that, that moment's just gone. Fleeting, and lost.
Yeah.
But you could
unpredictable.
You can look at the rest of the whole day and just be like, wow, that was terrible. Like they fought so much or whatever. But you can, it's good to appreciate that 2-minute conversation that you got in there that was, meaningful.
Positive. Yeah. Positive experience. I was so lucky and blessed to obviously sometimes it was difficult because, she had such like an, what's the word? Artillery? Is artillery like tools, weapons?
Yeah, artillery is weapons.
Okay, yes. My mom had arsenal. Yeah. Arsenal?
Okay, yeah, what are you trying to say?
I'm saying I was raised by a woman that had so many of those because she was like a behavior specialist, right? Like in her field, she was like a behavior modification.
Oh, right.
as a job, as a career. So I think it was really interesting kind of seeing all those tactics. I mean, she was probably guinea pigging them on us, but yeah. but I think it's interesting because like as a parent, when you're raising your kids, like it really is important to focus on, well, I'll say things like this all the time, right? Oh, this child is really affected by sugar. So like you can't expect to give them a huge bowl of candy and then the behavior is going to be okay after. Or hormonal too, right? We see our kids, the girls start to go like teenage age, they're going through puberty, and you see these like hormonal changes in your kids. So I think like for me, that translated so strongly that I was like, yeah, find those bright spots those moments you have with your kids and track those numbers. I know it sounds ridiculous. You're not keeping a scorecard with your kid, but you kind of are, because you're like, oh, you know what? When they did that experience, and they seemed really good after. We went for a walk, they got exercise, we were out on the beach, they were playing in the water, we took them camping, and we had all these really beautiful moments. And maybe that's we lean into that, and then you want to go take them in for forest walks more often. So I think that naturally does happen as a parent if you're paying attention to your children's behavior, or even your spouse or relationships. Like if you find those moments that are really great together, then you lean into that and you exploit those moments and you try to get more of them, right? And if maybe it is avoiding some stuff, maybe it's avoiding crappy food or avoiding lack of exercise, like sleep, right? Oh my gosh, when your kids don't get enough sleep, like you just see these like monster children, right? So I think it really can be applicable in our day-to-day lives as a parent, leaning into these like moments that are the bright spots. So yeah, this guy Dan Heath was talking about that in the school system in particular, and I think a lot of practitioners and a lot of EAs and teachers and stuff really could benefit from this, like a solution-based therapy with students, and really kind of like trying to understand what makes kids have a really great day and trying to implement some of those better strategies. I think I'm not complaining. I think the school system does a very we've shifted to so much like love and patience. How many years ago were they using the strap on the kids? Like not that long ago. It was like our parents' generation, right?
Yeah.
They got the strap at school. So teachers are trying to do like a more, positively driven experience for kids at school. So I think this is the same type of thing. And using it in a business, he did a bunch of examples, and like it seemed so powerful. He was talking about Chick-fil-A. Do we even have that?
No, that's in the States.
Oh, it's in the States?
Yeah.
Okay. And I've never seen this before, but I was like, what a great idea. He was saying that the owner identified the issue being the lineup at the drive-thru. And so, you see a drive-thru lineup and there's like 4 or 5 cars, and like the problem is they pull up to the menu and then they got to figure out what they want, right? So now they're looking around at the menu trying to decide. So he identified that as being like the bottleneck and being the thing that took the longest, and he basically took 6 of his workers that might have been in the assembly line in the restaurant and made them outdoor menu takers. So they were in the lineup taking your order all the way down the line. You might have like 6 cars in a row, and each one has like a menu on it. Yeah. I've never seen that before in Canada.
Yep.
But anyways, I guess this guy who owned Chick-fil-A did it, and it ended up, it was crazy. I think he wanted to serve like 500 cars in an hour or something.
Oh, wow.
That was like the goal that he was setting, that this guy was talking about. So yeah, just that's a situation of like reallocating your resources, right? I'm sure you see this on job sites all the time, where they'll be like, okay, this is a waste of your time. We're going to move you over here and you can do this part of the job or whatever, right? So yeah, again, just leaning into those things that you're doing really well, trying to figure out what the issue is, and then try to put people in the right places to solve it. Yeah. So that was cool. Rescheduling resources, that's what he was calling it.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm learning this too, like quality over quantity.
Yeah, and I guess if you're noticing somebody is, anytime you ask them to do something and it doesn't, it gets done slowly or doesn't get done well, then you can, instead of continuing to make them do that thing, maybe get them doing something else where they're
Yeah,
better
try to
suited
find
for
their
it.
zone of genius, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think I've really thought that way too, like in school, like people going to school and getting an education for a specific field. I've always thought that. I'm like, oh, it's too bad we can't, just find specialists in our field and kind of do mentorship programs. We've talked about that before on the podcast. But yeah, just having be like, it's terrible because we use the like term pigeonholed, right? Where you're kind of like pigeonholed to your specific, and if you didn't get an education, then you're kind of handed these like lower level entry jobs or something. But I think it really comes down to like finding a job that suits the person, right? Like having to, like someone feel fulfilled. And that's going to be different for every person. I know, obviously we have education in the way sometimes, but I really thought this was like applicable to me because now that I've had the studio for a year and I have workers, in my mind I was like, oh, the more is the better, right? Like offer more classes, have more programs, have more workers, have more opportunities for kids. And now I'm starting to realize, it needs to be the right class. It needs to be the right teacher with the right hours and the right population. So now I'm kind of more trying to be more strategic and focusing more on what's going to like push our studio the furthest and what parents are really going to appreciate in terms of programming. Instead of just offering more, I'm trying to offer better.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he talked about kind of being able to zoom out. And I think this has been like pretty big overlying theme working with a mastermind company is just being able to like zoom out and be able to kind of see the whole system. That is like a CEO's superpower, is being able to orchestrate and like evaluate everything that's going on all at once, because there's a lot of different things going on in your business in terms of your staff on one hand and your clients on the other.
Yeah, you're just
constantly juggling.
There's a lot of things that don't seem like a big deal that like can turn into a big deal. Like a lot of what I'm doing now at Han Builders is like he'll get me to do materials lists, and it'll take me an afternoon or whatever, and I'll put together materials lists for a job site or something like that.
Right.
But it might seem like, oh yeah, the guys know what they need. They can just go pick up the amount of 2x4s and stuff like that. But when you really sit down, you think through everything that you need for the job, you draw it out and count out everything that you need. It works a lot better. And what's like very bad, which happens, is when you get there, you're working, and now all of a sudden you run out. And now you didn't have enough material, or you don't have, one thing that you completely forgot about, which was necessary. And now you're stuck. And now you've sent the whole crew there, and, they either can't start or they can't finish. And now somebody has to run out, go get more materials if you can, or maybe they're closed or something like that. Right. So just having this prepared materials list is actually
imperative.
A lot more helpful than you would think, rather than just be like, oh yeah, just go pick up the wood before you go to site or something like that, right?
Right. I feel like you've given me that call a few times while we were working on our own projects. You're like, I forgot this. Can you go pick this up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably didn't take the time to do it all beforehand. I just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess as you get older, you live and learn. You get better at stuff like that, like providing yourself with that white noise time to make a list or think about it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, just to, again, like you said, to be able to zoom out and kind of see the whole project as a whole instead of it just being, scrappy versions of it. Makeshift versions. Yeah. And you save yourself a lot of time by thinking ahead of time. And like you said, just being prepared and building a whole system out.
Yeah.
That's been like a really hard thing for me. And I think,
well, you're also just kind of starting your system.
I know. And it does make sense. You do the system and then, oh, that part didn't work. So then you revamp the system and then you try it again. And as you grow, your system changes. So like, I'm understanding all of those things. But there's definitely, it definitely limelights or kind of puts into focus that you're trying to juggle so many pieces when you are running a business and you're doing like a think process of any job and your life, right? I mean, you can't, your thought process isn't linear. You're not just like, okay, I'm going to specifically think about this until it gets solved. Thoughts will wander in about your latest art project, your latest vacation. Oh, did your kid, I forgot to pack them a protein in their, your brain goes all over. I don't like to use diagnostics, but yeah, it's been really interesting giving myself this like thinking time and then seeing kind of where you trace your brain down the rabbit holes that your brain will go. It's lucky, that it is a brain rabbit hole though, not a computer rabbit hole.
Sure.
I really try to prevent myself from the social media rabbit holes. A lot of times now I'm working on computer platforms that are like not necessarily involved in social media. And now I have a really great secretary that does like a lot of our graphic design and social media stuff. She's so good at it and having fun with it where I don't have patience with it. So yeah, fun to kind of like make changes in those systems. And again, back to kind of what this guy was teaching us was like, those are the leverage points, because sometimes it's like the tiniest change and putting that into a system, and then it makes like just such a drastic difference at the end, right? I mean, doing a full material list and purchase is like a big deal, but once you're comfortable with it, I bet you get the forms for it, and there's probably a computer program that it gets logged into, and that maybe can help you and further, like, there's always like a system that can make it better.
Yep.
Make it stronger, and when you're finding leverage points that really do make that huge difference. I don't know if I talked about this yet, but he used the it's down here. But he used the description. Oh, sorry, too far. I was thinking about that. We're gonna be traveling soon. We were talking about doing some road sods. We joked about it, but we haven't actually done it yet. But now we're gonna have to, because we're traveling for 8 weeks.
Yeah, for a while.
8 weeks this summer, yeah. And I was thinking, it's going to be like we'll have to do some funny videos, because it'll be the two of us just like hovering over a microphone together. So yeah, we'll super see. Close, like nose to nose, recording our podcasts. But yeah, no, he was telling a story kind of about, I think it was like based on the like Toyota, the car, the production system.
Okay.
And I should have wrote down the guy's name, but he was like basically the owner of like Toyota, the cars. And he put out kind of this concept like waste is any activity that doesn't add value in the eyes of the customer, the consumer.
Sure.
So yeah, that was just the concept behind it, but like it was just so relative, because it made me think, how many times you're gonna like do something, in the, like, let's say on either side. So either you're going to like add all these layers to your business in your systems and your procedures and your resources, and your customer's never going to see it. They're not going to see the benefit, right? You're going to do something that like, behind the scenes that they really are like, we always joke in the construction world, like, like the roofing, the insulation, the wall, like people just assume those things are going to be there. So sometimes those like big ticket things that cost you so much money and push your business ahead, it's wasteful, because the client is never going to see it, right? Like they don't see the value.
Right.
So anyways, he used this, just like kind of a setup for this, but he used this example, and he was saying that there was like trash pickup, and the city was trying to like save some money. So they have, and we have this too, how like if you need to get like your bed picked up or like a big piece of furniture you want to get rid of.
Yeah, we always called it big item pickup, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a big item pickup. Yeah, so, or bulk or something, right? So he was talking about the city that wanted to kind of like streamline it and make it better. And the regular garbage trucks were going around because they pick up garbage every single like place that they stop, everyone's house. But the big item pickup was like following along the same route, because like any given day, anybody could be throwing out their whatever, drawer, dressers, or bed, or old bed, or whatever. So they realized that they wanted to not make, it was a waste for these trucks to do the same route, because, they would only have like one or two things, and then they were doing the same route as the regular one. So they had the regular garbage trucks go out, And then if they saw a big item ticket, they had this like GPS. Again, this is totally like relative to me, because anything you can add that's going to automate or tech relate or like have a computer do the tracking or the sending out messages, all those things is amazing. So the regular truck would go by and be like, oh, okay, this address on the end of Johnson Street here has a bed. You should go pick it up, and hit a button. And then the big item pickup would just go directly to and stop and directly to these spots that had these like big ticket items. So again, it's just like, it's adding that like level of into your business that's, you know, limiting your waste, making sure that it's like stuff that specifically applies to your customer. And again, as a parent, as a student, as a partner, or as a business owner, you can really like, you can add all these like checkpoints to your life. You can really realize kind of what the issues are and then streamline them and make them like more effective with things like this, or really just understanding, what you're going to do is something that you're going to do, is that really going to affect the people around you? Because if those customers that were waiting to get their bed picked up, they didn't care. I'm never going to notice that you didn't come to my house yesterday. Right. I didn't have a bed out yesterday. Yep. Today I have a bed out. Now I need you to come. So that was like the best scenario that they could have like added, cut something or cut cost of like an activity, but also they weren't losing like the customer care that people wanted, right? They wanted to make sure that they could put their bulk item out when you decide that you don't want that bed anymore and you're getting a new bed, you want it gone the next day, right? So I think that was like a really fun brainstorm for me to start thinking about, like when I'm making decisions for my business, sometimes in my head I'm thinking, oh, this is really going to support. And again, there's internal, like when Aaron makes a decision for you guys, it's not just about the clients. Sometimes you're the customer. Sometimes you're his customer because you're working for him. Right. So like you guys are going to have a better, and we're going to get into this too, but you're going to have a better work ethic if you're happier in the scenarios, right? So every day that he's picking policies, he's also trying to make you happy. You're also a customer because you're like a client, or you're a worker. Yeah. You're a staff, right? So your staff is also partaking in your business. They're participating in your business, even though they're working for it. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool, again, just a mental thought process before you like make decisions in your business or your home life. You're thinking to yourself, oh, how's this going to affect my clients or my customers or my staff? Is it really going to push us forward, or is it going to really, make someone happy and really upset someone else? And then I think just he talked about like the protection of your time and resources, and like we talk about this all the time. We obviously have to talk about money, but a lot of times we're talking about our time, having our time back. Like you're an artist. Definitely. You would love time to create. And I'm just desperate to have time with the kids, that I like want to be able to like spend the time with them, right? So any wasted resource, any time that we're like working on something that doesn't push us forward, it's an absolutely no, right? Because we both have things that we want to be doing within our lives that we don't have enough time for.
Yeah, I saw this it was like a little graph, but it was interesting. It had like 3 categories. Like you had like time, energy, and money, and it says the child has time and energy but no money,
right? And
then the adult has energy and money but no time, and then the old person has time and money but no energy. Yeah, see, that seems like such a slippery slope to me. Yeah.
So you're like, when is it perfect? Never. Yeah, well, I guess I guess that's why we are so obsessed with it, right? We're so obsessed with like being able to tap into our inner genius and being able to grow our business or businesses or any level of our like family or business to the point where we can have our time back. Mm-hmm. And we aren't really like big spenders. We don't spend a lot of money.
Yep.
Not on purpose anyways. So yeah, I think it's advantageous to be thinking about, how you can save money the most, because that's going to end up giving you your time back, because your resources are going to be better spent.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think this for us was like organizational techniques. just fine tuning like who's doing what, right? We were living together when we were young, but then we kind of ended up like back together later in life and just kind of figuring out like, what are your jobs? What are my jobs? And obviously you want to make sure that the person who's doing it hates it the least when it comes to your marriage, right? I mean, does anyone like taking out the garbage?
No, well, I don't know. Honestly, sometimes it's nice just going out there at night and I'll look at the stars while I'm walking stuff out there.
Oh, it's very good to hear. So anything like that, I'll send your way.
Well, whatever. Like you said, it's about looking at the bright side of it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, if we compare a situation we could hypothetically be in, look around the world, some of the scenarios that are going on. Obviously, it's easy to see that taking out the garbage might be a very relaxing task.
Yeah.
How about cutting the lawn?
Sure.
Way worse.
Nah.
Okay.
I don't mind cutting the lawn.
Yeah. No, I think, again, like I said...
Again, it's a time thing, I feel like.
It just takes too long?
Sure.
It takes some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that was like... it was really innate for us. It was an intuitive thing when we got together. When we got married, and now as like parents and partners, we're both really like big problem solvers. I think it's kind of in our job context that we're going to solve whatever problems are in front of us. So I think this like made so much impactful sense to us to be like super organized, and just having kind of like those organization techniques has allowed us to implement a lot of like parenting skills that otherwise we wouldn't have.
Yep.
I would have said even like a month ago, I would have been like, oh, we're doing so good. Our kids are so good. How are we feeling about Phoenix now? Hope he doesn't listen to this. He's going to later in life and we'll be like, yep, you were a handful when you were 5.
I don't know. I think he's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I just find Anna's very grumpy all of a sudden.
Oh,
and that's
man.
almost harder to deal with.
That's the hormones. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
No, he's so stubborn.
Yeah, he can be, but he gets over it.
Maybe that's why you deal with me so well. And then you can also deal with Phoenix so well.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I can deal with Anna so well.
Yeah.
Because you and Anna are so like...
Yeah, maybe I get grumpy all the time.
Yeah, totally. And everyone just has to, not bother you.
Yeah.
It's not like you're grumpy and you're yelling at everyone.
No.
You're just grumpy and you just need time to yourself.
Yeah.
Probably need that white space.
Yeah, definitely.
When's the last time you got white space? I guess when you're drawing.
Yeah, if I get white space, that's what I do.
Yeah. Cool. Are we ready for a break?
A break?
Are we taking a break today? We're
Do
just
we
going
need
to power through?
We could. Are we going to take a break? Yeah, sure. Why don't we?
Let's take a break.
Well, I saw this little thing here, though.
Okay.
It says you got laundry all over and then moved laundry closer to us.
Oh, yeah. That was our solution. Because we were talking about bottlenecks.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And it's funny, too, because it can also... It seems obvious after you do it, but then you don't notice it so much at first. Like even when I was in Monteith, we had a separate laundry room, and then I redesigned the layout of the main floor. And I was like, well, I got like this big space. I'll just make like a really big bathroom, and the laundry machines will just be in the bathroom, which is right beside the bedrooms, right?
Yeah.
And so when I did that, all the water goes the same place, so the plumbing was really easy to do. And just having the laundry machine so close to my bedroom was so efficient, because like that's where you're changing and getting dressed as it is already,
you're taking
right?
your clothes off before you get in the shower.
So
Why
now you're
would you just
saving
put your
so much
laundry?
walking back and forth. And then same with this house, we had the laundry machines in like the basement
2
furnace
stories
room
down,
all the way down. So you're just doing this constant, like all the way up like 2 flights of stairs and all the way down, and then your laundry baskets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where now we made that upstairs laundry room in that little office bedroom kind of thing that we had.
Yeah, it's like right beside our bedrooms.
And now it's right there.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about it. It's so close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's maybe I shouldn't have done it and I would have got more exercise.
I don't know if just walking up a flight of stairs is exercise, and I think we got more problems.
What do you mean? It's good exercise. I just run up and down the stairs all day. That's how I get my exercise. No, but it's true. I mean, it makes sense why it's typically near your bathroom, and oh my gosh, what a game changer. But I think things like this have happened to us all the time. We're just very logical and we're problem solvers. So we're like, okay, what's going to be like the easiest thing for us? And I really did do that when I was targeting the kids, like raising them. I had to target like, what are the biggest 3 things that are going to make my life easier? And they were clothes in the laundry basket. So the kids just don't leave their clothes out. And people are like, oh, they just wash their clothes every time they wear them. Yes, absolutely they do. But I don't care because I just don't want like the clothes laying everywhere all over the floor. That was number 1. Number 2 was the dishes in the dishwasher. Making sure that they like don't leave like dirty dishes out. That to me is just like the most disgusting thing ever. Now my latest one is trying to get them to put their shoes in the cupboard, the closet. You know, there's just like 3 things that like really make a difference because it's like dishes, laundry, shoes. They happen all day long. Like every time you go in and out, there's shoes everywhere. Every time you eat something, there's a dish on the table. Every time you change your clothes for morning or night, your clothes are laying out, right? So
yeah, and they'll always tend to leave their shoes right behind the door, and then that blocks the door.
Yeah, from you can't even open the door. You're tripping over them on the way out. Yeah, it's a nightmare. So yeah, I think like even in child rearing, you're always looking for those like 3 things that are gonna like really make your life easier, right? When you're child rearing. So, but I think we do that all the time. We're just like that. We're like, what's gonna be the best thing for this scenario, and then thank God for your construction skills. I could have the vision all day, but yeah, like thank God that you can put it together.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're ready for break.
Okay, we'll be back.
Back. We're just finishing up. I've kind of done like another business entrepreneurial episode with you guys. So thanks for following along. I know sometimes it can be hard if you're not a business owner. So we were really trying to, and we do this all the time, you know, any education that we do bring into the business, we're always trying to make it relatable to our household. So I thought this one was really cool because it was totally up our alley with like, yeah, nobody wants to waste time, right? You don't, even within your household, you want it to go the smoothest it can. Any parent will tell you, you try to plan ahead, you try to like streamline your family so that everybody gets fed, bathed, slept, you know, all the things in the right order so that you have a smooth behavioral day with your children. So yeah, I hope it's given you guys some insight, and even if it's just, you know, the way you think about stuff and the way you reflect on, you know, reviewing and the option to reset if something isn't working within your household or within your business. So yeah, it was really, we did this in a virtual retreat, and I think it was just such a impactful way to think about, you know, these little small victories in your business that lead you in the direction of progression. Anyways, that's how I was thinking about it. So the last segment that our keynote speaker did with us, he was just talking about waste, and we were talking about this before the break. And then he was talking about kind of recycling waste. And I think this is where the reset part comes into play, because you start to like identify places of your business that are being wasteful, and you try to repurpose them, and you try to reallocate your resources so that it becomes more of a productive scenario for you. You're kind of getting specific scenarios and understanding typically which one of your employees would be like the best fit. And I think he really hit the nail on the head, especially for dance studio owners, because really our business as a dance studio or any service industry is a people situation, right? Like it's same with the construction industry. It's selling a product that people are making. In this situation, you're selling, choreography artists that are working with your child and growing them in, this beautiful, confident being, all the things, right? I could give you the spiel on why our business is so effective in terms of like raising children and creating this community environment for them. But at the end of the day, it's still going to have issues. It's still going to be wasteful. It's still going to have things that aren't running to the best of its ability, and really focusing on those areas. And then simultaneously, like, almost right away, focusing on areas that are doing well and are thriving in your business. So you can really hone in on those and make sure that those moments happen more, and recycle some of your energy, recycle your waste, and make it go more in the direction of those bright spots, and be really effective and be able to build up your business and push it in the direction that you want it to. So the last thing that he really focused on in the speaking was motivation. This has just been like such a heavy thing for me, because I went from working on the ground floor of my business, and really I was working on the ground floor of our family too, because I was homeschooling our kids.
Yep.
So I went from like doing all the jobs of the business, doing the bookkeeping and doing the administration and doing the registration and then doing the choreography and then setting up the shows and ordering the stuff and buying the stuff. Like I was doing everything for the business. And then, obviously being a mom, you're a little more invested in the growth of your children, rather than just, anybody that's surrounding your kids. As parents, we have this like huge, pressure to make our kids into like the best they are. Motivation's always been like a really interesting mental gymnasium for me. We just talked about this. If you're one of those people, and you can relate to us, where you can't sit down, you start feeling guilt. Motivation is obviously a big priority to you. You want to stay motivated. And for an artist, typically it's that they want to stay inspired, right? They want it to be like, I want this creative energy to flow through me at all times, so that I'm always inspired and I'm always making something amazing.
Yeah.
But it's just not realistic. I mean, and I think it makes you a really hard person to work for when you're like a workaholic and you're so motivated. You tend to have a hard time, and you have those same expectations of everybody else. You think everybody else is going to work as hard as you. And it's just not reality. If you are a type A personality that's, driven, or leadership, or motivated enough to own your own business or have children or whatever, take on whatever responsibilities you're taking on in your life, you tend to be that very go-getter, motivated person on the team. And yeah, like I said, I think that can make you a really hard person to work for, a hard person to impress. So that was like something that I really had to deal with, being the position that I've typically been in for the last whatever. So ever since I can remember, being a teenager, being that like overachiever type of personality. So, I think it's been really positive for me to kind of step into the leadership role. And then when I get moments to think like this, I have to be empathetic and be open to the fact that I'm managing a team of staff on one side, that I want them to like do a good job and be representative of our family and our business and our community. And then I also have to have this like big empathetic understanding for our parents and our families and our students who are also trying their best, and want to show up, and they want to be motivated, and they want to push, and they want their kids to push, and they want great things to happen. But you have to be really open and empathetic to the fact that like motivation is it's not a constant thing for everyone. And it's going to go up and down based on a lot of different factors, right? Maybe you didn't sleep that night. Maybe you're, fighting off a cold. Maybe you had a fight with your spouse. So there's so many different things that people come to their community and they come to their job with, that you have to be really understanding and really work on that part of your business. And then I think it's really exciting because you get to be like the drive, you get to be the person. As much as it's a huge responsibility, you get to be the person in your family that says, come on guys, let's go take on this project. Like, oh, do you want to, let's paint this room. Let's renovate this space. Let's go play a game, or let's go for a walk or a hike. So you tend to be as a leader or as a mother, I guess, also, or some people are just in that personality where you are really the motivation and you're the driving force behind your team. So it can be heavy, but it is really exciting. And I think the more exciting part for me personally is to find ways that really do motivate people. To motivate kids, I mean, you want to find a situation where you're not being manipulative and you're being genuine, and you want them to like come up and show up for you and be excited about stuff. And so I think finding ways in the classroom or in our personal relationships where you can motivate staff to like want to buy into your brand and want to buy into your community, I think is really exciting. So he told a story about Frank Blake. I think it was like probably I don't know, maybe he was talking about the pandemic as well, but I think this guy kind of took over Home Depot. I forget what the timeline was, but he was working as like the owner of Home Depot and trying, I think, to bring up the value system, like, the virtues and the values of the business. He wanted Home Depot to be more personable. And I actually, when I was listening to this guy, I was like, this is crazy, because I did feel like, I don't know what the timeline was, but I definitely, did you start feeling like you were walking into Home Depot and they were like a greeter and people asking you if you're okay? And like, did you feel that?
I don't know.
Or you thought it was always like that?
Yeah.
Or you didn't notice?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I didn't notice.
Yeah. You're probably just not paying attention, not open to like...
Well, and I usually just know where everything is, and
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
Your eyes are just straight down the whole time?
Yeah.
Just
Focused, and
on a
I get what I
mission.
need, and I leave.
Okay. All right. Well, I really noticed the difference. I did notice that people were a lot more like quick to ask you like how you were doing, and they just had these like really great, interpersonal questions of like, how's your day going? Like you could tell they were probably trained. They probably like got together, and he was talking about this. I guess he did some this guy, Dan Heath, did some counseling with the owner or discussions. And so he had this like moment. He was talking about Frank, the owner of Home Depot, got all his managers, his like business managers together, and he was going to just, address them and be like kind of the opening speech for the retreat or convention, whatever they were doing. And he told this story of a client coming in, and the cashier asked the client, as they were starting to be trained into like, using empathy and using customer service. And the cashier asked him, what are you doing? Or what's your project today? What project are you working on? And the client proceeded to tell this cashier that his grandson had passed away suddenly, and he decided he was going to build the coffin for his grandson. Which, oh my God, right? Like you're just hearing this story and you're just like so filled with emotion. Could you imagine? Like those moments happen to me. I mean, not so drastic in the studio, but I'll say, oh, how's it going? How's your weekend going? And they've had a death in the family or something that's like really traumatic that they're going through. And it shakes me because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have so much, like the students that come into our dance studio. I mean, we don't even have to work at the empathy, compassion part because they're part of our family. Some of these kids I've had since they were like 3 years old. So it really resonates to me, but that's what they were looking for at Home Depot. They wanted that level of compassion and empathy and companionship that you would get from like one of these very personable community style businesses that we're so blessed to be in, because really, I mean, I get to be a role model for kids. I get to be, I bring together my staff. I get to work with these young teachers that are really inspired, and they're artists and they're choreographers. And then I get to like have these beautiful parents around, that surround us and kind of grow up. So we're really lucky. But I think the take home message was, that it's really important to have that like empathy and kindness in your business and in your household, right? With your family.
So what did they do? Did they give them like a discount?
Yeah. So the end of the story was that she basically just said like, put your wallet away. And like, in my head, I was laughing because I was thinking, oh my gosh, imagine if every time, my teachers decided to take it upon themselves to like start giving away like free months of dance or something. But the take home message really was that he was celebrating. He wanted to like put this employee on a pedestal because he wanted the rest of his staff to understand that this was the role model. This is the direction he wanted his business to go in. And then the part of like the motivation technique that he was talking about was just that like behavior is contagious. So once you kind of have this like gold standard in your business or in your family, and we do this all the time with the kids, I'll play one against the other. I'll be like, oh, Anna, you did this amazing thing. I'm just so proud of you. And the hope is that the other one's going to see it and, also want that, praise or, confidence, right? Like they're also going to want to get noticed for the same thing. So behavior becomes contagious when you're able to kind of set up role models, and allow for that natural progression for like somebody to lead and someone to follow that behavior, and really like celebrating those things in your business. Being able to celebrate the behaviors that are going to like push your business forward. Off air, I was just talking about this year with the dance kids. I've never really implemented this because again, it was just me and it was a lot of work to be like changing policy on parents and getting the message out. But so I didn't, but I was always really interested in having the kids be in dress code, be all in black clothes. As a choreographer, it's very difficult and it's distracting when the kids are all wearing bright colors. So when you're trying to like narrow down like whose arm was too high or whose leg or whose split wasn't the right size, when you're comparing a class of kids and trying to clean it up or make sure they're on the right time, whatever the correction you're doing, it's easier when they're all in black clothes. So I always wanted that. I always wanted the kids to be in a dress code, but I didn't want to be the mean teacher. I didn't want to put that pressure on the parents where they'd have to like make sure there's clean black clothes for their dance class. Whatever, this is a long story, even longer. It was not beneficial to anyone. I should have just pulled the trigger and done the dress code. But the point I'm telling the story is because I didn't even have to. One kid a couple times was in dress code and I really celebrated them. And I was like, oh my gosh, Jackie, you're doing so amazing. Look at you. You're in dress code. This makes it so much easier for your teacher to work with you and train you. You're being, this is such a good training or good routine for you to come to dance class in dress code. And literally the next week I had 3 kids in dress code. And then 2 weeks after that, I had 5 kids in dress code. So it was incredible because I didn't have to like lay down the law and like, tell them what to do and be the leader. I was able to just use a couple of the kids as a role model, and the behavioral, aiming our behavioral goal. And then the behavior was contagious. The kids just like loved being celebrated and they wanted to also be praised on wearing dress code. And it was so easy. And now the parents love it. They're like, oh, it's so great. Like, they just have their black clothes. It's like a uniform, right? For school. There's not a lot of thought that goes into it. And they're not being as, stubborn and picky. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought it was great. I can't say enough about the organization, the mastermind program that I'm sitting on, that they're able to kind of bring us in these like keynote speakers and really teach us how to, like I said, take those moments behind the scenes and think about it and then focus on the good parts of your business, celebrating the things that really work and then kind of pushing those forward to grow in the direction that you want to grow in. So yeah, I thought it was great. It was a great 3 days to spend kind of thinking outside the box and appreciating another whole community that I'm part of, and which is all dance studio owners. It's so wonderful because any of the topics that come up are just so relevant across the board. And again, a lot of us are also moms, so we can kind of code switch and be back and forth with 1 second we're talking about our dance studio, and then we switch gears and we're able to kind of talk about our family life and cool. Being a mom and being a wife and being a friend, good education, trying to have any kind of resemblance of a social life, because it's very hard, like we said. There's not a lot of time left at the end of the day.
You can relate it to whatever you're in.
Fun and Yeah, I mean, it's hard. We do get really specific, like in our mastermind program, about like specific detailed systems and stuff that we want to implement. But for the most part, I mean, there is this whole like think tank, brainstorm, the whole idea about thinking about something before, trying to, you know, prevent problems later on, spending time now on something so it goes smoothly later.
Yeah.
It's vague.
It's good to like step back and think about why you're doing something rather than just to continue doing something if it might be inefficient or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, like, you know, there's lots of things that you just do because that's how you've always done it.
Yeah.
And if you gave yourself, you know, an hour to like think about it, you could probably rework it and make it more effective. I'm going to get into this another time. I wanted to kind of cram both in one, but I didn't have enough time. But yeah, the other guy that like spoke, one of the other guys was kind of talking about progression through the business and scaling. So like making your business into bigger and being able to have a bigger business and have bigger communities running through a dance studio. And his like niche idea was what got you to a specific point won't get you to the next point. But it's kind of the same idea, right? Is that like you just keep doing something, but it doesn't work as soon as you have 2 teachers, and maybe it doesn't work, or as soon as you have whatever business it is. I mean, take any business. As soon as you implement more people, more in and out, then it becomes like a different problem, a different business. That system doesn't necessarily sustain it when it goes up to 200 people or 500 people or whatever. So I think the thinking part is the most important part, and it can prevent problems in the future, and it can make it go a lot smoother.
Yeah.
Oh man. And imagine if people like gave themselves the freedom to do this in their interpersonal relationships. How many times somebody goes at like an argument and you're just like frustrated with your partner and you just flip out. And if you gave yourself time to like think about it, it would have been so much more calm, or, you know, it would have been way more smooth instead of just exploding like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good practice for anyone all the time.
Yeah, that's kind of my move.
I know. I try to take that from you, but it's hard when you're the decision maker. You know, you can't take too long. If you take too long to answer, people are also going to be kind of mad. So I try to take a second to think about it, but answer in like a timely way. You can't just not answer.
Yeah.
Yeah or yeah? Awesome. All right. So yeah, we have a couple more weeks. We have some guests lined up for you guys. And then we're heading to Monteith.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to get some northern friends on. So yeah, we got about 3 more weeks, and then, we're going to take you guys on the road. First roadsode. Yeah. Mid-June.
Cool.
Yeah.
Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, and you'll never miss a podcast.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.